Welcome back to the Soul Calibur 5 playthrough, and we're going to take a break from the awful story mode of this game.
Because it's just that awful.
to play through arcade mode. Soul Calibur 5's arcade mode is kind of interesting in that it actually has a couple different paths. One that's normal, one that's strictly European fighters, and one that's strictly Asian fighters. And once you've completed them, I think there's an extra special mode that focuses on boss characters. For this run of arcade mode, I'm playing as the guest character, Ezio Auditore from Assassin's Creed, who has way too many goddamn weapons.
Why was he speaking in Italian?
Because he is Italian.
But he speaks in English in all the games he's in. So.
He speaks in English and Italian in Assassin's Creed 2.
Why? That'd be like... Because in the...
It's so you can understand what he's saying.
Most of the time when he says something Italian, it's either a swear word that they want to censor cleverly, or it's something like rest in peace, which sounds kind of like rest in peace in Italian anyway. So they leave it in Italian so that it sounds Italian, and it's kind of a flavor thing.
So I'm assuming Ezio because he's the most popular Assassin's Creed assassin?
At the time that this game came out, I think Assassin's Creed Brotherhood was recent, which is why it's Ezio in his Assassin's Creed Brotherhood form rather than his Assassin's Creed 2 or Revelations form.
Yeah,
so
that always confused me how there was an Assassin's Creed 2 1, Assassin's Creed 2 2, and Assassin's Creed 2 3. You thought Final Fantasy was bad with that shit.
Well, now they're just bundled together in one box and called the Ezio Trilogy, so it's really easy to remember.
Oh, they're not even finishing the games nowadays.
Yeah, I heard about that whole shitstorm with Unity. Apparently it was bugged up to fuck.
When your patch is
bigger than
like
the game.
6.5 gigs, something's wrong.
Yeah. You know, the thing, though, is that they also released another Assassin's Creed game at around the same time, Assassin's Creed Rogue for last-gen systems. So I get the feeling they were stretched pretty damn thin.
I hear Rogue wasn't bad, though.
I think Ubisoft, if they're gonna keep on doing Assassin's Creed games every single year, like, I haven't played any of them, I have nothing to say about the quality, but if they're gonna try to make a game every single year, they need to take a page out of Activision's book and put more than one team on them, so that, like, the games are at least kind of polished when they come out, because, you know, like, I've seen some of the glitch videos, and the characters' faces are frightening. Like,
yeah,
lack of faces.
Yeah, that gives me nightmares, man.
Oh, Ted, you were asking how ridiculous Ivy's costume was in this game compared to 4. Well, here's Ivy's costume in this game.
Okay, well, let me see.
Well, aren't we cheeky? All right.
It's not quite the thong.
It's funny.
Ha 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 ha. Yeah.
This is pretty subdued.
Compared to, at
like,
least.
She's like, you know, they've got the thighs going, and there's a decent amount of cleavage, but, like, at least
it's not the thong. It's not the thong from Soul Calibur 4. That was ridiculous.
That armor would protect most of her. Like,
well, having one armored arm isn't that uncommon of a thing if you're, like, talking about an archer who needs to have one arm that's moving freely but doesn't necessarily need to leave the other arm unprotected. So what Ivy's fighting style uses is one arm that's armored and one arm that's strictly for her weapon, which needs to be pretty agile because it's not just a sword, it's also a whip. How that works, I don't know, but it is what it is.
Yeah, okay,
also,
she's still using the sword whip.
Yeah. Also, Ezio's finisher move is really awesome. He, like, literally does one hit with every weapon on his tool belt. Like, the hidden blade, the sword, the dagger, the crossbow, and he finishes with the wrist gun.
And people think Batman's decked out.
And then he disconnects from the server in a cruel twist of fate. He said sloppy. Was he commenting on the character or your inability to aim?
He's commenting on his opponent. That's what he says when he does his follow-up crossbow strike after a dodge roll. It's a move that really only ever hits if you catch your opponent off guard anyway, so it's an appropriate comment. Kind of inappropriate when you miss.
You know, when they try to cover her up the way they do in this game, it sort of backfires, because now it looks like she forgot to wear pants.
Who needs pants when you have thigh-high boots, right?
I can feel the breeze between the knees, and it is good.
Here's the seer that I was talking about last part. One of the upper tier characters. What's her name again? Oh, I'll have to wait for the health.
Oh,
Viola, yes, that's
She
it.
got Freddy Krueger claws.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, she has the claws, but for the purposes of custom character generation, the only actual weapon is the orb, which you can choose a skull or a giant eyeball or stuff for. Kind of amusing.
Her skirt is kind of embarrassingly short, though. Like,
it's very gothic Lolita.
yeah.
So, you know.
The hell is the narrator saying? He's like, the true victor is... I can't even understand.
He gets his lines from fortune cookies, so whatever he opens up that day is what he says for the battle.
Lucky numbers. 12, 16.
Yeah.
Lucky numbers.
He says those kind of things a lot between rounds, and I think they're at least slightly context-sensitive, like he'll say a different thing depending on who won and how close they were to losing when they won.
The battle rages on. Stand up and show your strength.
To reach out, first you must reach in. Oh, it's one of those assholes.
Look behind you. Wait, what? Ah!
I like when you get a low crossbow hit, it just takes their ankles right out from under them.
Non-lethally, of course.
No, it's like you threw a banana under their feet with a crossbow. Not even just a banana peel, but a whole banana with sliminess and everything when they step on it. They just flop forward and fall on their face.
May no one remember your name.
Hilde. Like one of the only 2.5 female characters in video gaming who wears practical battle armor. She looks like she walked out of a Fire Emblem game.
Resolve is measured by results.
She does. She looks like she looks like she could be a Pegasus Knight, actually. Especially with
Yeah.
the spear thing she's got. Only she doesn't have a Pegasus, but you know, you can work with that.
Yeah. Hilde is an interesting style, but she's kind of unbalanced. Like, she can pull some real bullshit on you, so be careful if you're fighting a Hilde player.
Well, I don't remember. She has the dagger, well, a short sword anyway, and a long-range halberd. So I don't remember. I know she's from Soul Calibur 4 as well.
Yeah, she
Yes.
made her debut in 4.
Is she like the makeshift replacement for, I forgot the girl's name in 2. Is it Sung Myung? Or
It's not the same style at all, though.
No, but I'm wondering if whether or not she's acting as some sort of makeshift replacement. I forgot her name because I used to use her all the time. And
Yeah, I'm halfway convinced that they included Hilde in 4 specifically so they could say they had one female character who wasn't gratuitously fan service, just so that they could, you know, try to quasi-justify all the fan service in that game. Because she's so drastically practical compared to every other female on the roster.
Oh, I get what you mean by the armor breaking, though, because like her
Yeah.
helmet's broken. Does it have any effect on like her defense, or is it just a visual type thing?
I think it has some effect on combat performance. I'm not sure. But Hilde just loses her helmet and one of her legs armor. Not both, just one of them. So it's a bit more of a convincing armor damage kind of thing. But I think the effect would be nicer if they included damaged pieces of armor on the costume.
Well, I noticed that she's got something on underneath the armor, which is also very practical, because you don't want to be wearing nothing underneath metal armor, because...
No, you definitely
yeah,
don't.
it starts chafing. Her name was Seong Mina. That was her name from. Well, she made her debut in Soul Edge. Okay, I thought she was Soul Calibur 2.
Winds gather at the
In any case, time to fight Zwei again. I'm going to enjoy beating this guy up, because I don't like him very much.
Sorry, I didn't catch all that.
I don't speak non-Japanese.
You're speaking
Mi non
English,
spieghi
sir.
mi non spieghi la italiana.
Oh, he can summon. He can do Zelda's Phantom Slash.
Yeah. Wait, what awaits?
Your end awaits.
Oh, my end awaits.
Okay, so these guest characters are supposed to be broken, right?
Ezio isn't really broken per se, but he does have a lot of utility that other characters don't have. So, in the hands of a player who knows how to use him, I think he's one of the higher tier ones. Not the god tier ones, though. There are characters in the main Soul Calibur 5 roster who are better.
Ironically, I think the most balanced fighter of all the guest characters was probably Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Well,
Darth Vader, yeah.
To be
Darth Vader's fighting style is pretty standard because he can't move around all agile-like. That's just true to his character in the movies, though.
Yeah, like, to be honest, like Darth Vader in the costume, like not Anakin, like he doesn't really fight. Like his fight scenes he doesn't move around an awful lot. He's kind of just like a brick wall that Luke has trouble knocking down.
Yeah, and that's more or less how he plays in Soul Calibur 4. For the agile Jedi Knight style, you have Starkiller from The Force Unleashed, which came out slightly after Soul Calibur 4, if I'm not mistaken. And he does a lot of crazy flips and grabs and shit.
And then there's Yoda,
who's way too fucking short for a game like this, and there's one major problem with a really short character: you can't grab and throw them, which in Soul Calibur is kind of a big advantage.
You think they would learn after Gun in Tekken 3?
Yeah, but, well, throwing in Soul Calibur is a lot more useful than in Tekken. You'll notice I'm using throws a lot in this game. And it's like, throws are handy in Tekken, but you're going to be relying on them more here.
I really can't find anything on a tier list for Soul Calibur 5, which I would take as a good sign, which probably means it's balanced.
Well, there are tier lists, and there are characters that I've definitely heard people talking about as bullshit. There's one character I can't actually show off in this playthrough, Dampierre. He's a DLC character, and unless you get the DLC, the only time you'll ever see his fighting style used in anything is in the quick battle mode against AI bots. Because his style is technically in the game, but he's a $5 extra if you want to actually use him. He's a character from the portable version of Soul Calibur 4, I think.
The name sounds familiar.
He's this weird sort of He's this weird sort of.
But you just gotta make sure that you finish the job.
What happened there is when the camera moves around during a ring out, your movement control sort of gets a little wonky because it doesn't change with the camera. So you can sort of accidentally walk off the arena while you're trying to walk away from it. So if you don't want to jump off the arena like a dumbass, your best bet is to just stop moving completely.
Your ending animation should be based off of how you ended the battle.
Anyway, enter Cervantes, who is a complete and utter asshole.
Cervantes,
by the
he's
way.
looking less dead.
Yeah, he's a lot less zombie-like than he was in 4. I'm not really sure if there's a story justification for that or not, because, well, Cervantes doesn't appear in story mode here.
He was basically nothing but a zombie in 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a pirate zombie.
So is this his pirate ship? Does he just have
Yeah.
this?
Well, he's a pirate. He obviously has a ship. In any case, Cervantes, I kind of cleaned his clock during round 1, but he's an asshole when he starts building momentum, because he has a lot of speed and a lot of reach with some of his moves. There's a reason they made him the final boss of the Europe route. And it's not just because he used to be a final boss anyway.
How easy is it to projectile spam in this kind of game? Because I saw that you have like a little crossbowy type thing with Ezio there.
The projectile move, the crossbow move actually isn't a standalone move. I think you have to use a melee move before you use it. Wait, no, the melee move itself is whipping out the crossbow, and the act of swinging the crossbow out is itself an attack. You basically whack the enemy with the crossbow if they're close to you, and then you can follow up by firing the crossbow. But if you're not,
That's like hitting someone as you draw out your gun.
Yeah, if you're not close up to the enemy, though, that swinging out the crossbow action constitutes a delay.
Well, okay.
Basically, it's a major telegraph.
Okay, so
and
you can't really, like, Hadouken spam... Well, I'm not saying just
No.
Ezio, but can you Hadouken
Well,
spam
no,
with anybody, really?
Not
in
Hadouken
3D,
spamming, it's zoning.
In 3D fighters, generally characters don't have as many projectile moves as a rule of thumb, but there's also the question of you can just sidestep around them. A lot of projectile moves in Tekken and Soul Calibur come equipped with either a before delay that telegraphs them or an after delay that makes it really easy to sidestep and then rush them before they recover.
But don't get hit by it.
Yeah, don't get hit by it, like,
Because
oh god.
it really hurts.
Yeah, there's like the final boss of Tekken 5 has a projectile move that literally takes out half your health bar per hit, and he has a variation of it that fires 2 of them in quick succession.
What a dick. No, I always got that Soul Calibur was always an extreme close range fighter. You know, it wasn't about projectiles, it was about how well can you stay close to your opponent while dishing out the pain. Which always sort of made me think that there was always a very slight advantage for long-range fighters, and by that I mean they had long-range weapons, like Astaroth, or going back to Seong Mina in Soul Calibur 2 and the original, I suppose. I always felt they had an advantage because avoiding like low sweep attacks was always a bit awkward in Soul Calibur for me.
Yeah, well, in 3D fighters, low, high, and mid attacks work differently than in 2D fighters, so that itself is always a transition. But it's a bit more of a thing in Soul Calibur because a lot of the low sweep attacks have a lot more reach than they would in other 3D fighters.
Yeah.
So tripping up the opponent is a very, very, very viable strategy in this game.
But this is a real grounded 3D fighter though. Like jumping is not done as you usually do it in a regular fighter, wouldn't it? Like, don't you have like to press a specific button in order to jump in Soul Calibur?
Yeah. In Soul Calibur, yeah, I think you have a jump button because the 8-way run relegates up movements to actually moving on the Z-axis.
Yeah.
But in a game like Tekken, the up button is the jump button, and you'd have to double tap it to sidestep, which I always found really awkward. What was I gonna say? When it comes to jumping, though, I think, like, 3D fighters have always had low jumps, like, ever since Tekken 2. Tekken 2 is the last Tekken game with, like, moon jumping as a mechanic. And I think they realized it was a bad idea to have high jumps in a 3D fighter, because every time you jumped in Tekken 2, it was basically opening yourself up to a major juggle. But with a low jump, you can do things like hop kicks and stuff, which if you time them right are really useful for counter-attacking low attacks. Like if you do a hop kick, you're simultaneously dodging any low attack that's thrown at you, and you're launching a mid or high kick.
Yeah, right into the face.
Yeah. And that's a key element of 3D fighters, is learning how to attack around your enemy's attacks. You can't really do that as much in a 2D fighter because of the way sprite-based movements work. Like even in 2.5D fighters like Mortal Kombat's Reboot or Street Fighter 4, the way the fighting mechanics work is still pretty identical to sprite movements.
Yeah.
Things are a lot more flowful in 3D fighters, and as a result, a large portion of getting used to fighting is learning how to watch the opponent's movements, reading their telegraphs, and eventually, if you're really good, going around their telegraphs, kind of like you would in a Punch-Out game, really.
Or however you can mindfuck them.
Yeah, mind games are a big thing, stance games are a big thing, positioning is a big thing, and especially in Dead or Alive, but also in Soul Calibur and Tekken, watching your surroundings is a big thing too. Because getting your opponent up against a wall is always helpful.
The battle has finished. Only
And then you can do extra damage by knocking them into a wall with an attack. But Cervantes is dead, we're done this run of arcade mode, and that's that. We'll be going back to story mode next part. Player level is 56. The player level actually only dictates unlockables. I think, like, the last unlockable customization options show up at level 50, or 53, maybe. All I know is that to get the motorcycle gloves I like for my custom character, I had to level my player level up to an obscenely high level.
Alright, we hope you enjoyed this session of Ezio Hijack Soul Calibur 5 for a little bit.
Yeah, we're going back to the unlikable adventures of Patroclus and Pyrrha next part. Oh boy.